Once upon a time, you were a little bit tired of reading stories that took absolutely forever to read. In fact, you wanted something you could read in just a single day. That's what we're here to do today. We're going to talk about 5 stories you can read in one day. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to BellTube. I'm Brian Bell. Today I wanted to go over 5 books that you can read in a single day. A lot of us in the science fiction and fantasy genre get really caught up in these gigantic series. I'm one of them, of course. I love big series and I love gigantic books. But you know, sometimes it would be just great to pick up a single book and read it in a day. One of which I've never heard anybody talk about on BookTube ever. So that'll be a surprise. We'll save that one for last. So let's get right into it. The first book that I want to share with you today is by author Ryan Cahill, and it is The Fall. It is the prequel novella to the Bound and the Broken series. This is an amazing taste test to know whether or not you like the gentleman's writing style, if you like the kind of world that he's building, and it reads incredibly fast. You will for sure read this within a day. This novella, which by the way is available completely free of charge on Ryan Cahill's website if you sign up for his newsletter, gets you into the world that he's building with plenty of imagination and plenty of action. This is not a slow burn. This just drops you right into it. It's a fantastic way to determine if the Bound and the Broken series is something that you're going to be interested in. I happened to read book 1 before I read this particular book, The Fall, but I think you could do it in any order. And for the purposes of our program here today, where we're talking about 5 books that you can read in a single day, The Fall is certainly one that I would recommend. The next book that I want to share with you is a classic. It is by Mary Shelley. Of course, I'm talking about Frankenstein. No. Frankenstein. Anyway, this is a really quick read as well. And a lot of people, myself included, before reading the book Frankenstein, thought we knew what this was about. You don't know what it's about. I didn't know what it's about. Nobody knows what it's about. Frankenstein is a brilliant, obviously, piece of literary work. It's lasted the test of time. It is what's typically called the first sci-fi story. And our story really revolves around actually Victor Frankenstein, not Frankenstein's creation. Of course, the creation and what we call Frankenstein's monster, but in my opinion, it's more of Frankenstein's creation, is less of the story than the actual man himself, the creator, Victor Frankenstein. It's a quick read. It's less than 200 pages. I think if you are going to be a sci-fi reader and a fantasy reader, you know me, I'm not real big on resume books saying that you have to read this or you have to read that. But there's a reason that Frankenstein has been around as long as it has. The story is impeccably written. I cannot believe Mary Shelley was not even 20 years old when she wrote this book. So number 2 is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And I think you're going to be very surprised when you read this book. It won't even take you very long, maybe about 20 or 30 pages into it, to see that this book is really different than what your imagination might think it is. Before I move on to book number 3, if you do like the content that we put out here at BellTube, please do hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. The reason why I'm asking for this is because the more people that do that, the more the search and discover program within YouTube itself will share what we're doing with all kinds of other people and help build up the community. A quick break in today's video from your #1 disco kingpin, Funky Mirage, reminding all of you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that post notification disco bell so you never miss a video. It's how we're growing the disco world over here at BellTube. This is Funky Mirage signing off. Wait for me, I'll be in another video soon. Yeah! Number 3, The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This story is so typical Neil Gaiman. If you've read Neil Gaiman, you know what I'm talking about. It's dreamy in a way. Neil Gaiman to me is one of the premier storytellers in our lifetime. And The Ocean at the End of the Lane is short enough that you can easily do this in one day. With a lot of these books, I don't want to get too much into the details because they are so short. We run the risk of spoiling the book, but suffice it to say, we have a middle-aged man who goes back to his childhood home and all of a sudden starts remembering some fantastical things that happened that have been magically wiped from his memory. The ocean at the end of the lane. Absolutely a one-day read, perfect for fantasy readers, perfect for people who love Neil Gaiman's sense of wild, carefree imagination. Big recommend from me. And the fourth book on our list today is by Suzannah Clarke, and it is Piranesi. I have recommended this book quite often here on the channel. If you like atmospheric work, if you like dreamy work, if you like book reading as not just a reading experience, but an overall mind experience, this is a fantastic one-day read. It's a mystery, but I don't want you to find out anything about it. Don't look it up. Don't try to find a synopsis of it anywhere. The less you know about Piranesi going in, I think the better of a time you're going to have with this short book. It delivered everything that I wanted it to deliver and more, because I too went in completely unaware of what this story was all about. But like I say, it's dreamy, it's atmospheric, it's a mystery at its core, and you're going to be brought along through a journey that you don't expect. I certainly didn't expect it. Piranesi is number 4 on our list today. Now, the fifth book that I want to share with you today is not a book that I've seen anybody talk about on BookTube, and if they have, it's been quite a while. In fact, it's not even really a fantasy or science fiction story. It's more of what I would call a personal development book. I think back in the day, they used to call this topic self-help, but it's been rightfully changed to personal development. And the book that I'm talking about is Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach. This is a series of stories that was written in the 1960s and became a published book in the early 1970s. Richard Bach takes us on a journey through the eyes of a seagull. Yeah, look at that, a seagull, a bird, named Jonathan Livingston Seagull, through his growth of wanting to do a little bit more than the average bird in the flock is doing, and the scorn and the kinds of ill feelings that the people around him gave him for trying to reach out and for trying to be the best version of himself that he can be. There's a few different parts of this book, but it is a really short book and one that you can easily do in a day. I really recommend Jonathan Livingston Seagull, not only because it talks about what we talk about here on BellTube quite a bit, and that's growing as a person and having some personal development, but it's a story that I think a lot of people that are tuning into BookTube today don't know anything about. So Jonathan Livingston Seagull is our fifth book today on our list of 5 books that you can read in a day. And our fifth book actually brings me into the One for the Road segment for today. And that's talking about reaching beyond what others expect us to do. Sometimes the groups that are around us are really supportive, and it's a great thing. On BookTube, you'll find that quite a bit, where you'll see creators helping and co-creating, collaborating, and doing a lot of things to help lift each other up. Sadly, the real world isn't always like that. And even more sadly, sometimes the people closest to us are the ones that are absolutely terrified that we may move past them in some sense. It's more their perception than reality. But the truth is that reaching beyond our boundaries is part of what makes life life. In fact, I would submit that is what makes life life, and that is to ever grow as a person. What kinds of things have been going on in my mind lately that maybe I could take a little bit of action on and grow as a human being? Reaching beyond your own personal self-inflicted boundaries is absolutely a requirement for your own personal development. I know it's true for me. I know it's true for everyone. There's a lot we can do with our lives, and I really want us to try to get as far as we can while we're here. I'm really interested to know what some of the shorter books that you like, what type of a top 5 list would you make for books that you could read in one day? Put them below in the comments. Like I say, the more engagement that we get on the channel, the faster the channel is going to grow, and the faster the channel is going to grow, the more really cool things I have in mind for us to do together. Have an amazing day, everybody, and of course, here's your fortune.